Hello everyone, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. Welcome to your Watford 1, Newcastle United 1 match reaction. Myself and none other than Mr. Hornet Shane will be breaking down in today's video. Shano, that was a bit of a slow salute this week. It was a bit of a slow salute. It had a bit more energy to it.
Maybe it's a bit reminiscent of how the fan base are feeling maybe after yesterday. You know, last was like, yes, come on, we're all here, yeah, kind of thing.
A bit more. It's a bit more kind of there.
Yeah, a bit more like, yeah. I'm not sure today. I don't know.
How you doing, mate?
I don't know. I'm all right. You know, mixed weekend of sport, really, wasn't it? You know, 1-1 and all that, and a mixed game of football yesterday, and watched the boxing yesterday, and you know, let's be honest. Anthony Joshua was absolutely outclassed, and it was a sore watch, but sore today for me personally. I'm a massive Formula One fan. Lewis Hamilton winning 100 race wins for Lewis Hamilton. I'm absolutely over the moon, and so a mixed weekend. Started off in, I don't know, slightly negative, maybe first half of the game yesterday. Rallied in that second half, and the boxing was a disappointment, but it's sore today, and now I'm here. And obviously, the weekend ends on a high, so you know it's all good. It's all good.
Jane, it's a match made in heaven. Sunday nights and yourself here at WD18. We all know if you're a real fan of WD18, you know last season Sunday nights was the pinnacle of the season, of course, apart from getting promoted. Before we do get into it, guys, a big shout out to Rio Wolf, who I saw after the game yesterday. Got a lovely picture, met his mum and his mate as well. So thank you very much, Rio, for all the kind comments you said yesterday, and great to see you in the live chat. And like Rio, if you want to leave your comments in the live chat, then please do. We'll fire some questions over to Shano and get some discussion going about Watford, because it's a bit of a weird feeling in the fan base, I think, at the moment. We've just come off the back of a Norwich win. And then yesterday it was a 1-1 draw, where it probably is a point gained in the grand scheme of things after Watford's first half performance, but still there is a massive room for improvement for this rest of the Premier League season. And of course, please do leave a like on the video, comment down below your thoughts, and subscribe to WD18. So Shano, getting straight into it. When we look at yesterday's performance, I don't know if it was too far to say it was a performance of two halves, but certainly there was a pickup in the second half from what was a pretty poor display in the first. I'm struggling to work out this Watford team at the minute. Is that fair? Do you think I'm finding it a bit confusing to work out whether we're playing poorly or this is our level. Do you see what I mean? Oh, are we cut out?
No, I'm here. I'm still there.
Hanging on. That is very apt. That is very apt for Watford's performance yesterday.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly it. Just not quite there. I think a lot of people have referred to the game as like a game of two halves, haven't they? And I think that's really kind of very cliche, but I think it kind of applies in this situation. I actually thought we were fortunate for it to only be 1-0 to Newcastle at halftime. I think Newcastle on another day could and maybe should have been at least 3 up at halftime, if I'm honest with you. We were all over the place yesterday at times. You know, I felt like the attack were a little bit blunt, especially in the first half. You know, Josh King played very well. I think second half, first half, didn't really see him on the ball very much. Dennis, I thought, struggled. Sarr, link-up play with Kiko, it was there, but Newcastle was smart in that first half, was very much intercepting kind of balls kind of being played into him. We had a couple of shots on target. Sarr had a very good shot saved by Darlow. Newcastle, they were all over us, and who was it? Sean Longstaff, one of the Longstaff twins, whose name I can't remember. It's a stunning finish.
Should Foster do better there, Shano?
Yeah. I didn't actually see it, obviously, in real time, because it obviously happened so quickly. I didn't actually see the fact he got a touch, and I thought he was well beaten, but actually watching it back last night, match of the day, he got a very firm hand on that. And my rule always is, no matter who the keeper is, no matter how long you've been at the club, no matter what team you play for, if you get a hand on it, you need to be saving that and doing a bit better with it, really. Because he kind of got himself up there. He was basically equal to that, and he should have done better with it, really. There was a lot of talk, wasn't there, after the Norwich game and coming into this game, you know, with the whole Foster Backman situation, and that's starting to rumble on a little bit, you know, Backman. I saw him yesterday, and I shouted to him, "All right, Daniel," and he winked back at me. So it was a sign of better things to come, as it were. Exactly that.
What kind of wink was it? Was it a kind of, or was it a?
It was one of those, actually. It was more the latter, really. I was like, okay, all right. Here we go. One of those. But listen, look, he was at the game yesterday. There's been a lot of talk about him missing the Norwich game, sitting in, wearing like one of those knee brace things, and wasn't involved in midweek. And I think there's been some comments made on, I think, one of Foster's many vlogs or something now that he does, calling out Batman, saying, very hard luck for him. He'll go on to have a great career. It felt a bit weird, some of those kind of comments. And did it maybe come across as maybe a bit of a changing of the guard in goal, maybe? Is Foster now back? He's more experienced. Batman was in there in the Championship, whereby, little mistakes were potentially, didn't really go unpunished, especially in goal, frankly. Not that Batman actually made any last season. And as Foster maybe kind of pushed himself to the front of the queue again. But for me, first goal, he should have done better for. And then we decided, Craig Cathcart decided to hit the self-implode button by passing it back to St. Maximan, probably because he has St. Maximan in his fantasy team or something. I thought, this is a good opportunity for me to crawl back some points or something. It's just, and that wasn't even the first ball across the box as well that he did. Like, he did a couple, and you had Jacob Murphy, Joe Linton in that area sniffing around. So Maximan should have scored. In actual fact, he should have lobbed Foster, because actually he should have done. And I think if that chance comes again in any other game, I reckon he probably takes on the lob. Lucky to not be more than at least 2 goals down. I think Alan Shearer actually put a bit more gloss on it, didn't he, on Match Today? They did pinpoint quite a lot of their chances. I think Kieran Clark had one, didn't he, first half, a free header, went over the bar. Good positions that they took up, and they didn't punish us. And in all fairness, actually, a lot of Newcastle fans were ruining their missed chances, and that was my worry really. At half time, I thought, okay, well, it's only 1-0. We are unbelievably, we are still in this somehow. I mean, I don't know what was worse, our performance or Newcastle's finishing, really. And everyone I spoke to that first half said, we should have been at least 2, maybe 3 down. Second half kind of rolls along, and you're thinking, okay, I saw Cleverly went off. I didn't actually realise it was a concussion sub. They didn't even announce that it was a concussion substitute. Tufan came on. Tufan changed the game in that midfield. He looked hungry for it, snapping into a few challenges. I remember, in fact, one occasion whereby he lost the ball. He turned back round again, chased that player, and absolutely snapped into the back of him. Obviously, he conceded a free kick, but there was that tenacity in there, that kind of come on, let's go for it kind of thing. And we were incredibly passive up until then. If I'm being really honest with you, the substitutes changed the game. They allowed other players to get into the game. Specifically, of course, Jack Pedro. How great was it to see him back on the field yesterday? One of our standout players the last season, and he's been missed, isn't he? He has been missed, and a lot of fans have said, I've kind of hinted it as well. Is he maybe the missing piece in this jigsaw or something? And all of that, and I think you kind of touched on it. We are in a bit of a weird kind of period at the moment, and things are a bit up and down. The reason I think that is because I'm not entirely sure Cisco knows his best team, and I still think it's a theme that's plaguing this season a little bit. I called last week for Tebow. I think he probably ought to be dropped. I think we need Cleverly in there. Actually, when the Tebow came on, he did really well, and he's the balance of the guy that we need. Okay, that's something else for him to think about. Kuka played well in the first game. I've not seen enough from him since, if I'm being honest with you. It's the midfield that is such a real sore point for us. It's a real sore point for me, because I sat there at the game yesterday and I thought, right, okay, well, I'm not really seeing very much from our midfield. Our defence, again, there are question marks around our defence. Siri Alter, go on.
Sorry, Shane. I think we just to really dive into that centre-back situation, I think it's such a fascinating one because, look, Francisco Sierralta started midweek against Stoke City.
Yep.
Look, I don't think he played poorly. I think he's our best centre-back. I just think most Watford fans will agree. You look at all the centre-backs at our disposal. Sierralta, as proven last season, is the best combination is him and William Troost-Ekong. Why is he not involved at the minute? Now, Adam Leventhal put a tweet out today suggesting that Cisco Munoz, there was nothing to do with injuries. Of course, he's not suspended at the moment. Shano, does it just seem to you that there's something that's gone on behind the scenes? Because I think it's ridiculous how Sierralta isn't playing Premier League football for Watford, particularly knowing he is our best centre-back.
I think there was something a bit more to that as well. I think Adam actually asked him a question directly, and Cisco got a little bit jangly, didn't he, with his answer? He wasn't very committed, and yeah. It's just one of those things, isn't it? It adds another level of drama to things that we just really don't want, need. Really, it is quite frustrating. It does point to something happening going on behind the scenes. I don't know where it stems from. Does it maybe stem from the Wolves game, making those mistakes in that game? It looks like that's kind of where it's maybe come from. The international Sinar break as well, and all of that stuff was all sorted, wasn't it? So coming into that Wolves game, yeah, all right. Listen, he did get the own goal, and in fairness, he probably was to blame for that second goal as well. Although the defence were all over the place for that, but he did start in midweek, so I don't really know what's going on. The problem I have with it now is that it's not the first time Cisco's kind of done this. I've seen a few fans in the last 24, 36 hours or so say, he's got this knack of freezing certain players out of the team. And Ngakia was one, and Ngakia came off the bench yesterday. I still don't think he's Cisco's cup of tea. And I think it's very much the case in the squad now of, do you know what? If you're not my cup of tea, you better get used to sitting on the sidelines, right? Ben Wilmot was exactly the same. A lot of fans very, very upset at the fact that he left. He put in a very decent display in midweek as well, actually. Yeah. He's part of a growing Stoke City team this season who are looking quite ambitious in kind of what they're looking to achieve. And Ngakia was one, wasn't he? He's not, I don't get it with him sometimes, with Cisco. Why he seems to really like Craig Cathcart, which is a worry because I really like Craig Cathcart, but even I will admit that it's time for him to kind of move on now. And I said it last week. Yeah, all right, we won 3-1 against Norwich last week, brilliant. But Cathcart was still a very loose cannon in that back line. He didn't command his area, and he made some sloppy errors yesterday as well. Really, really sloppy errors, and it's that worry a little bit with Cisco. And I actually mentioned it to a couple of fans yesterday. I was like, I kind of noticed this with Cisco. He's quite. Obviously, we know him. He's a very smiley guy, right? He's very smiley, he's very positive. The Match of the Day interview, the Sky Sports interview with one of their reporters singing along to like stadium music or something, this guy's innocent, this guy's good. I actually happen to think behind the scenes, when he walks down that tunnel and there are no cameras on there, that smile goes from this to a serious look on his face to be like, right, don't mess around with me. This is how things are going to be, kind of thing. And I think he has instilled just a little bit of that, right? Because we kind of look ahead. I've spoken about our midfield already. I think our best midfield, based upon, and I think this will change, ultimately based upon yesterday, I think Sissoko is a starter in there. I think that's absolutely confirmed for me. Number one. You've got potentially.
Oh, you're back. He's back.
We are back. We are back.
We potentially.
Yeah, no, exactly. No. So I think our potential midfield, we've got Sissoko in there, who I think is just crucial to us. You've got, I think, Tufan in there, who I think has proven midweek yesterday he has to be a starter in there, and maybe the other guy in there is a Tebow, right? That's what I think. I think that's what the majority of fans would say. Cleverly, I still think is an underrated part of this team, but you can only fit in so many midfielders. I feel like with Cisco, he will go with Cleverly because he'll say, right, Cleverly, team captain, you're in charge, you're leading from the middle, basically. And I feel like that's kind of how we would maybe kind of set up. I said it last week. I think Kuka is very much a man to come off the bench, really. But again, I say it, the freezing players out, right? It's 1-1 in the game. Well, okay, it was actually 1-0 for the majority of the game. Let's be honest about it, right? The players that we kind of bought on, Zhao was one of those guys. Fair enough. I kind of got that. And Ngakia coming on, wasn't really sure about that necessarily. Ativo coming on, this is when it's kind of like 1-1. We're chasing the game in the last stages. Cucho's on the bench. The guy who scored for us this season. He's not really getting a look in at the moment either. And if you've got Cucho sitting there on the bench as a striker not being used, You've got Ashley Fletcher, who's at home. He looked dejected in that interview in midweek that he gave, I think, to quite a lot of sources. But yeah, I've kind of accepted that this is probably my last time to play now until January. That's quite a big statement. And so for me, I look at that and I think, okay, we're not going to play until January, but you're going to be on the bench, right? It comes to Saturday. Oh no, you're not.
Mm.
What's going on there, kind of thing. And Cisco has very much made a point, isn't he? Midweek, it's about the fringe players making themselves known. Fletcher has two goals in 2 games, right? Why is he at least not in the squad? I'm not saying starting, absolutely not. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying, but he should be an option coming off the bench. It's 1-1. We didn't make a single attacking change apart from Zhao, really, in there. And then we kind of changed up the formation a little bit. I think towards the end, we kind of went 2 up top. We took off another midfielder and everything, but things seem to be a little bit mixed at the moment. And I think the last 15 minutes almost gave me a massive heart attack. Because it was literally end to end. It was like a basketball game. But where was that intensity in that first half? Where was that intensity in the first 15 minutes? Because Newcastle showed a lot more, I think, going forward in that entire half. We brought the game to them last 15 minutes. It didn't really work out. I obviously, tore several ligaments and a face muscle celebrating Josh King's goal right in front of the rookery and everything. And that was a huge expulsion, explosive moment in that game. Ultimately, it was ruled out. We all felt a bit stupid, but I didn't anyway. But
great,
it was that. It was that. No, honestly, mate, the scenes were just unbelievable. But it was that kind of intensity. It was that that real release. Why wasn't that part of the game plan? Why weren't we making those kind of those near miss chances? Sissoko with a shot, King getting on the end of it, and very close chance, I think, with Jacob Murphy actually had a shot saved. Very end of the game, Foster got the ball back out again on the attack. Josh King just coming on to the very, very end of it. It was just one of those, wasn't it, really? Whereby we had the impetus in that second half, the last 15 minutes. Where was it for the first half? That's my big question mark really around this team. Cisco and the tactics will ultimately change. I don't think he's really going to change his mind on a lot of that sort of stuff. A point gained is the title of this whole, this review. I don't know. I think I see a lot of people on one side of it saying, take the point and run. I'm of the opinion of I think in that last 15 minutes, Newcastle was shaking. I think the time in which we actually got the goal was all right. I think if we got that goal 10 minutes earlier, I think Newcastle are really on the ropes. They didn't do as much in that second half, and I feel like the game was there on another day. I look back at that chance as well. The Josh King, fair enough, he was offside, ultimately, even though I think it was pretty close. But where was that attacking intensity? Newcastle were all open at the back. And, I just think if we were a little bit more positive, if we maybe kind of pushed it a bit more in those last 15, 20 minutes, I think we actually could have gone on and got 3 points in the end. A point isn't necessarily bad from where we were at halftime, to be honest with you. But there are question marks around this team. And
yeah, absolutely, Shane.
They need to be answered.
There's certainly question marks, I think, at the minute from fans about Cisco Munoz as well.
Yeah.
That we will always be appreciative of what Cisco does, but that doesn't mean we can't kind of focus in on what he's doing at the moment. And Lou Orns in the comment section says Cisco is still poor with his subs as well. Zhao coming on made it so much easier for Newcastle. God, we need a new manager, which is a bold statement. I have to agree with Lou on the first part of his comment, Shano, and I'd be interested to hear what you think about it. I felt the substitutions yesterday from Cisco completely disrupted the balance of the team at a point where we were again starting to build a bit of momentum. Tufan came on at half time, which I agreed with. I thought that was a really good substitution. Cleverly with his positioning, it wasn't his sort of game. For me, Cleverly's the sort of player where you bring him on where you need to be pressing from the front. Tufan in that sort of game when Newcastle are coming to play for either a 1-0 or to scrape a point, Tufan is the man to unlock the defences. Positioning between the lines was really good, picking up the ball in the half turn, playing it out wide and looking really creative. And it got to about 60 minutes and then he brought Zhao on into central midfield and then pushed Tufan out of his best position. I really couldn't believe that. The Kiko substitution was an interesting one for Ngakia because I thought Ngakia did well when he came on, but Kiko didn't look like he was tired, didn't look injured, might be a question of managing his minutes. Thought that was a little bit of a weird one. And then you look at the other two. Tebow, I think should be starting in that midfield, and Cookskill was probably the one where you think it was a right substitution. So for me, Shano, it's more a case of timings of substitutions, because it was the same against. It was the same in our last home game when Josh King went off, when we were building a bit of momentum. Who were we playing against? My memory's just gone blank.
Wolves. Was it Wolves?
Yes,
yeah.
Wolves. That was the moment where you felt it was tilted. It was really any momentum was killed a little bit. Now, ultimately, we got away with a point, I believe, but on his substitutions, it's a concerning thing for me that it's happened a couple of times in 6 games this season already.
Yeah, it is. Look, listen, it is a concern. I did kind of touch on this. I still don't really understand. Zhao going into the centre of midfield. He didn't seem to really want to change things up. Necessarily.
Oh, it's happened again. Oh, Shano.
Yeah, listen, the substitutes. I'm not just trying to carry on, to be honest with you.
You know what? You're a true professional, Shano. That is too bad.
I'll be honest with you, mate. This Wi-Fi connectivity is probably is actually on the same level of Cisco subs. If I'm honest with you, it's frustrating everyone. Let's just be honest about it, right? The thing I don't get, right? Zhao comes on in the midfield, right? The man's not really a midfielder. So why are you putting him in there? His best position is up front. I actually thought when he came on, he was going to partner up with Josh King up front, and we're going to do something like that. Or you're going to put him on the left, switch Dennis going down the middle with King. Like a two, basically 2 up front to try and really get at that Newcastle defense. Didn't really do that. Tebow not starting. That there are a few question marks about that. I personally thought Tebow should have started yesterday ahead of Kuka, who I just don't think has been on it really. Kuka coming off, fine, all right, but I'll be honest with you. Apart from that first game, I think the problem with him is he set the bar way too high, and I think I kind of know just from age and just from generally what I see of him, I think he's going to be a man coming off the bench. Really, that's what I think.
Sure,
I don't think Cisco sees it like that. I think Cisco sees him as an actual starter in there, someone who really goes in for it. Is hell for leather, brilliant. But the dynamic did kind of change a little bit. I think especially when you kind of spoke about it, taking off Kiko. Why? He was about to take a throw in for us, realized he was going to get stumped. He looked really, really angry. He actually almost slammed the ball down and just walked off. Right, managing his minutes. But why? He didn't look like he was injured. Didn't look like he was hobbling. Didn't look like he was carrying an injury. Wasn't anything visible that I saw there. So why do this? Kiko and Sarah have got a great link up. They've got a great kind of relationship with each other, right? The one thing.
Cut out again. You know what? Just on Ngakia and Sa, it was interesting that how the dynamic changed. I don't know if any of you guys in the live chat saw it. Dynamic change from Kiko and Sa. Sa wasn't really giving Ngakia the ball.
No,
sorry, Shadow. I did actually hear that comment. No, I noticed it because I sit right by it in that RS5 block. I actually sit right there. Every time Sa got the ball, Ngakia was calling for it. No even look of communication. I think Sa was pretty angry as well. The fact that Kiko had been taken off. My partner down this right hand side is now gone. I'm working with Jeremy or Jezza, right? And there's a lot of encouragement coming from the crowd. And Ngakia was all right. I didn't think he was necessarily that bad, but Kiko I think just would have been better. I think Kiko and Sa got a better kind of understanding with each other, and I feel like he would have been crucial in that last 10-15 minutes, whipping those balls in, really kind of getting the crowd off their feet. That's what you really want to see. Cisco's substitutes are a worry. It's not this. Let's be honest. It's not the first time, is it, that this has kind of come up? I think it probably was an issue last season, but last season we just weren't punished, were we? I mean, we weren't really punished at all. Very good point.
Literally never. frankly, and if we were punished, it would be blindingly obvious. But the fact that we maybe made, this guy went off and it dropped our rhythm, it doesn't matter because the other team weren't really doing very much, they didn't create anything, etc. So I think that's kind of like the flip side to it. But it is a bit of a worry. And I looked at these last two matches. Getting a win against Norwich was just huge, I think, just from a confidence perspective. I did say, confidence breeds, winning performances. At home, we just seem to be a little bit tame at the moment. We don't seem to really be going for it. He's running at very much running at that left back, but he's not doing it enough. Gets balls for me, didn't do it enough. Now, why did he get all those chances? Why did he get all that space in the last game? Is it because of the opposition that we played? Is it really because of that? I'm starting to maybe think that it is. I'm starting to think the team performance was better last week because we were playing a side, frankly, that are bottom of this table, right? We don't want to pour any disrespect on any team, but Norwich City right now are stranded at the bottom of the table. They lost again yesterday. Like if you look at like a square in front of you, if the top of the square is like relative okay, and like Norwich are basically at like the very bottom. In fact, they're outside the square. Like, that's how cut adrift they are of everyone at the moment, right? And it's quite funny to like laugh and say, it's great, but actually, we made them look ordinary. Maybe that's one argument. The other side of it is Norwich just weren't very good. Whereas when we came up against a side actually who haven't won a game, Newcastle still haven't won a game, and they showed a lot of attacking intent. If their finishing was better, we would have lost yesterday, and we would have lost by a pretty comfortable margin, I think. And that is taken out of account the last 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But that last 10, 15 minutes, if Newcastle had actually had better finishing, would have been absolutely irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very, very, very interesting point. Thank you to everyone who's watching at the minute, guys. We're going to have a little look through your comments. Big shout out to Shano for joining us on this Sunday evening. One comment here from Anthony on the subs situation. He said there's two ways to look at Cisco's thinking. His logic might be that he wants fresh subs to ride the new wave of pressure building, i.e. injecting pace, etc. I don't think it was Anthony, from my perspective, I don't think it was a case of that. It was more a case of I just feel there's been occasions where the momentum of our play is being disrupted by the substitution. And also the second thing is I just felt the balance of the midfield was completely lost when Tufan dropped a little bit deeper. I just really didn't understand that. And putting Zhao into midfield out of position really on his first game back was bizarre. And then to put him on the left, it was a bit weird. So I'm just not completely convinced by some of the tactical choices I'm seeing from Cisco at the minute. Luan says Danny Rose is superb, though. What a signing he's been. Yeah, Shano, a quick word on Danny.
I was actually going to make a mention just in case we didn't get back onto the topic of our defense. Danny Rose has been superb, hasn't he? I noticed actually. I think I noticed this. Obviously, it was a feature yesterday, but I noticed it in the Norwich game that he's played. Some of his passing, it's been absolutely superb, isn't it? That ball through to Star in the Norwich game alone. He's pinging balls left, right, and centre. He's a smart player. He's a classy player. And I will go back to what this man here said not so long ago. Form is temporary, class is permanent. And I think I'll just keep on saying that without the trademark. I'll just keep on saying that. Like every single week, all I'll say to people, oh yeah, that guy looks good. Oh yeah, Rose is good. Form is temporary, class is permanent. And that is the end of that discussion, right?
Absolutely.
He knows what we need.
Absolutely.
I said it against, in the Wolves game as well. He looked frustrated with the players on the ball. He is, for me, a consummate professional. Treated very wrong, treated very harshly by other clubs. He's coming into his own. And I honestly think he could be, I don't know if people will call him like a surprise package of the season. I don't personally think he is. I think he could well be up there this season as one of our standout players of the season. I know it's only September, but I just think he's showing that kind of quality already. He's a leader as well. I heard him. He's a pretty vocal guy. He's more than happy to give his 10 pence on any situation on the field. If whether it be barking in the face of the linesman, whether it be barking in the face of one of our players, where they'll be barking in the face of Cathcart, which I really, really, really wanted to do yesterday. But Danny Rose managed to do it for me. He is superb, and I just think he's going to grow and grow in this team. And as I say, he's one of the standout players so far for me this season.
Yeah, well said, Shano. I think that the thing about Danny Rose is I don't think he's completely fully fit either. I think he's still a little bit off 100% match sharpness. But the great thing from our perspective is that he's playing 90 minutes of Premier League football. So I don't think he's far off from being back to his best. The signs are very, very good. Yeah, some interesting shouts just on this substitution chat. It's really interesting with Cisco. So AB says, I thought he made good subs yesterday. Only questionable one was Ngaki, but I guess that's because Kiko is still recovering. I guess that's another way of looking at it. Yeah. Anthony says Atibo rather could well have had hamstring problems before the game, hence not starting. I really hope that isn't serious, Shano, because Atibo is he's just trying to find the right word to describe it, but he's constantly at the opposition's ankles. He's like a shadow. He like follows that player everywhere they go, and he gets his foot in. His positioning is good. He breaks up play really well. And then I think for me, Shano, if we're going to play this 4-3-3, but with two kind of holding midfielders and then one slightly further advanced, I think we need to have Atibo in there, and next to Moussa Sissoko, who can. So Atibo could break up, Sissoko can drive, and then Tufan can create. And I think that's probably the best balance we can have to this midfield. Do you think?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I kind of echo those thoughts, especially with his injury as well. It doesn't look great, does it? Really, it's a real worry. Obviously, injuries happen. We've got to manage them, but I think Atibo could well be a crucial. I think he'll be a crucial player for us this season, especially in that midfield. My only worry, I think, with him and with our midfield is there just going to be too much chopping and changing for him to even get into some sort of like a rhythm at the moment? Because I saw him, I think, first game of the season. This midfield is great. Atibo looks great. Doesn't play for a couple of games. Played okay. I think he played against Spurs. Kind of gets rotated out the team. Okay, I'm not really sure what Atiba offers us. We didn't see him today. Comes back in again. Actually, he was great today. On, off, on, off, on, off. And that is something that a player can't fix. A player can't fix when they're picked. They could just be there, fit and ready and available for selection. I hope that hamstring problem isn't serious, because I think we're going to need him, especially next week. Challenging game against Leeds. A side who, again, haven't won a game yet this season. So, Newcastle Saturday, Norwich the week before, coming up against teams that are low on confidence. That's why I'm a little bit annoyed with the result yesterday. A point gained, all right, maybe fair enough. But actually, I feel like a side who hasn't won yet, who hasn't got any confidence, who haven't got any wins on the board, we should be going all out to try and secure those 3 points. It would have been a huge win yesterday. 2 wins on the bounce. Go into that Leeds game. There's less pressure on it. I think if we had nicked the win yesterday, there'd have been less pressure on the Leeds game. Ellen Road's a tough place to go. I'm making my first trip up there since the 6-1 demolition many years ago, where I saw some absolutely phenomenal finishing. I hope, I want to say, let's hope we see 6 goals. Let's just hope 5 of them are for Watford or something. You know what I mean? Like, we know, everyone knows the pressure and the atmosphere going off, and having to.
Oh, he's paused again. You know what? While Shana's reconnecting, let's have a little look through your comments as well. We're going to get on some Cisco chat in just a second. So thanks for all the questions. One of the really interesting comments, Shana, that I saw just while you're reconnecting was someone made a really good point just on that Kiko and Ngaki sub, which is probably the last time we're going to talk about, because we talked about it quite a bit in this video. But Andrew said Kiko came off at Norwich after 59 minutes at 1-1, and then Ngaki played really well and won. Cisco obviously rolled the dice thinking it could have again. So that is a very fair point as well from Andrew. So that's definitely something to consider. Charlotte made a good point as well in the comment section. It's no coincidence that we've scored early on in the 2 games we've won. Need to start as many games as we can strongly, which is pretty much supporting everything Shane said tonight, which was we came out the blocks really, really slowly, and it took what?
To be honest, it's not even supporting something. It's not even supporting something that I've said like tonight. It's something I've said on this channel for the last 5 years. I always say this, isn't it? Like, got to start on the front foot. Got to start. If we score first, we then hold all the aces. This is so crucial, right? Against Wolves, we didn't score. We let Wolves drift around the pitch. We drifted around the pitch. 60, 65 minutes or so, the game kind of reached its kind of massive turning point.
Yeah.
Cisco subs thrown into that didn't help. Wolves come away with the 3 points, right? Again, yesterday, there was a point in that match whereby I thought Newcastle were on the ropes. And I feel like, all right, last 10, 15 minutes, they were on the ropes. We could have nicked it, but it doesn't just happen there. It has to come from earlier on in the half, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really look like scoring in the early part of that second half either, if we're being really honest with you. Right, a game of 2 halves is perhaps slightly inaccurate in some respects because it was a game of the last 15 minutes, possibly. I think first half of the second half, we honestly didn't look like scoring. We weren't getting forward. Newcastle were breaking fast. So Maximan looked like he was going to absolutely boss it and score, as I said in the preview, which got a lot of people laughing, with like a yogurt pot and like a piece of string. He looked very comfortable in that. And the one problem I had was that for a side who haven't won a game yet this season in Newcastle, they looked very, very comfortable.
Yeah.
They didn't look in any kind of panic. Mm-hmm. Weren't like, what, we should probably be looking at winning this game. Actually, no, we're all right because we're not really under any kind of threat. There's no constant surge one-way traffic from Watford. It only really happened, as I say, in those last few moments, really. But it is absolutely no coincidence that we have scored early on in games that we've won because we ultimately scare the opposition. We get ourselves into an early lead. We hold those positions. More importantly, when we score 1 goal, we go on and try and score a second goal as quickly as we can. We had loads of chances in that Norwich first half. Didn't obviously come off. But again, we got that second goal at the right time, and ultimately we went on to win it.
And as Rob says in the comment section, the way we started the season, that first 70 minutes versus Villa, needs to be how we start all home games. Brentford showed that high intensity leads to chances and goals.
I've heard a lot of the B word being used in the last 24 hours. So obviously, because they were on TV yesterday, and it was end to end, wasn't it? I mean, obviously there were a lot of other implications. A lot of people obviously comparing Brentford to us, and being like, they scored 3 goals. We'd be lucky to have 3 shots on target or something like that, and the chances created are a bit of a problem as well. Only 4 shots on target in the whole of the 90 minutes yesterday. That is a bit of a worry, I think.
For sure. Completely agree, Shano. Look, before we just move on to a little bit of, what, Shano, this is going to be a bit controversial, but there's been a couple of questions, and I think we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't answer the questions that are coming in from some people in the comments. It's more about Cisco. And it's a controversial one, Shano, but I think it's probably the best way we can kind of wrap it up going into Leeds next weekend. Now, we all know Watford in the past have enjoyed a managerial change in the international break. Now, this is not to say that Cisco Munoz will leave, but Charlotte made one comment. International break is a dangerous time to be a Watford manager. Cisco is inexperienced, but with our record with the managers, can we really expect to attract top caliber managers? There was another comment just up here from Lou Warnes who said, putting you lads on the spot, but if we play badly and lose to Leeds, would you make a change of head coach? And there was also another comment, so apologies, I can't find that other one. Look, Shano, it's a question that seems to be emerging a little bit more, and we're not saying it's in reaction to just yesterday. I think there's always been that kind of lingering in the background around Cisco about whether he is the right man to take us forward in this Premier League season. It was a huge result, not only for Watford, but for him against Norwich. I think the pressure really would have been on if we had put in that performance yesterday after a defeat or even a draw. But going into Leeds and going into that international break, 2 questions. Number 1, would you make a change? And number 2, would you be surprised if the hierarchy at the football club do change it?
Okay, I'm not really in the bracket of exclusives on this channel because that's not me. I'm not the exclusives man necessarily. But I was speaking to a few fans yesterday, one of which actually said that there is a bit of a rumor going around within the actual club that Cisco actually has spoken to the owners already. The owners, managing director, have actually. I'll start that again. The board, the board, Duxbury, Gioretta have already spoken to Cisco about the form. That talk was done before the Norwich game, apparently. And so the performance, and that kind of does stack up quite well, because saw him in the Match of the Day interview last week. He was absolutely overjoyed, wasn't he? He looked relieved. I think it's the word that you used, relieved. I know for a fact that those talks have taken place. I've had it confirmed from a couple of people that I know, just from within the fan base, that kind of know maybe a little bit more about the situation. So to me, it sounds like, if there's a chopping board within in your kitchen at the moment, he's not very far away from that chopping board, if we're being really honest with you. The interesting point I think somebody put on there was, if we perform badly against Leeds, will he go? Will you be surprised if he goes? If we perform badly against Leeds with the international break coming up, will I be surprised if Cisco goes? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We know what happens with the managers at this club. The international break is an opportune moment, isn't it? Right? We've known down the years, the Pozzos, they are always talking to managers. A few names have been mentioned, one of which has even been spotted in the country, which is so very ominous, isn't it? It's almost scary, frankly. We're nowhere near Halloween yet, so it is as scary.
For viewers who don't know, who is that manager?
Diego Martinez, I think is his name. He was at Granada, so I don't know how much. I don't think he has any links really with the Pozzos. I think the Pozzos did actually get rid of Granada quite a while ago now. A very attack-minded manager is what I've heard. But for me right now, he's just another name, isn't he? And we talk about this, and I don't want to come across as too negative about this, right? But we've spoken about managers in the past. Oh, this guy's very, very attack-minded. This guy plays forward football. It's rock and roll football. It's hardcore, rock and roll football. We're going to be on the front foot, and players like João and Josh King and Ismail Assar and Kucha will win the Ballon d'Or if this manager comes to this club, and everything's going to be happy, and we're all going to be dancing in the pond, and there'll be free drinks at the Red Lion or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we get so, we get so carried away with some of this stuff. For me, it's just a name in there. Can I see a managerial change being made after Leeds if we lose? Yes, I actually can see it. I feel like the board are kind of circling a little bit now. I think if we were to go to Ellen Road and get a win, that's huge confidence going into the international break. My fear right now is Cisco doesn't know his best 11. He doesn't know his best 11. Our best centre-back is not even in the matchday squad. Something has clearly happened there, right? The Foster Batman situation, I think, is a separate side note. I'm not really sure if I agree with it necessarily. But then on top of that, you've got the impending doom of our fixture list. And it's coming thick and fast. Right, October isn't exactly a breezy month either. After international break, we welcome Liverpool to Vicarage Road. We go up to Everton and we welcome Southampton. At the moment, a winnerless Southampton to Vicarage Road. If that form for those guys doesn't improve, that then is still looking like a massive game for Watford. I think the Southampton game, end of the month, is looking like a massive game for Watford if Southampton don't arrest that form. And that's my concern, right? People have compared us in the last 24, 36 hours. In fact, I would say for quite a while now, against another side who have been promoted, right? In Brentford. I will quote what Jonathan Pearce, the Match of the Day commentator, said last week. 2-0 win for those guys against Wolves. He ended his commentary by saying, Wolves looked hopeless. Brentford looked like a well-oiled, well-drilled Premier League side that have been doing it for a number of years. Do we look like that right now? Hand on heart? No, we don't. Right? There are obviously other things at that club, right? The recruitment and all that sort of stuff and how they've actually plugged the gaps that they've needed. My big concern, obviously, we have made signings. I think some of them are all right. I think some of them are yet to be proven. I think that whilst Josh King has played very well in these last few games, his confidence is definitely up. My question marks still arise around, a lot of fans are saying he just needs a goal. He just needs a goal. His confidence is there, but he just needs a goal. We can't be thinking about it like that, right? You've either got it or you don't. I think it's just as simple as that. And that might be very harsh on him, but look, ultimately, players were there in the market for us to sign, right? And there's maybe a reason why Josh King has come to us. The man is a free signing. He didn't cost us any money. It's cheap and effective if it works out. I remember when we actually signed him, we did a video on it on here. This could be a great signing if it works out, right? Ashley Fletcher coming in. This could be a shrewd signing if it works out. Players with a point to prove, right? We need to snap out of this mentality of players with a point to prove. We are so past that now, right? You're looking up front. You're looking at that game, all right? Josh King, all right, rallied. The attacking performance rallied, right? But let me ask you a question now. Throughout that 90 minutes, did you actually think we had it in us to score a goal? Did you genuinely think that? I personally didn't.
Yeah, not in the first half. I think in the second half when Tufan came on, we looked a lot more bright. But I think there's been themes emerging, Shano, after in the first 6 games of the season. And just to kind of pick up on your point about Brentford, I think it's this is not towards you. I think it's very dangerous for fans to compare us at the minute to Brentford, because ultimately, look, Brentford have 2 more points than us, and also they have played, I mean, a lot of the top 6. Let me just get their run up. So they played Arsenal at home, they played Liverpool so far, and they've had some difficult away games. Whereas the only team that we've played in the top 6 is Spurs, and ultimately we should have actually beaten that day, I thought as well, or at least got a point. But they've had Liverpool at home, got a point. They've only lost 1 game, and they beat Arsenal at home. Now, granted, Arsenal weren't great on the day, but the point is they have, in my opinion, had harder fixtures than us. They haven't had to play Norwich. They haven't had to play one of the promoted sides just yet either. No. So that's an interesting subplot. Just to have a look at some of the comments on Cisco. Yeah. This is quite interesting, actually. So Freddie says, problem is, if Cisco is sacked, who do we get in? Another unheard of bloke. Anthony says, what we need to remember is that it's not just the manager that's changed since last season, but also Giraldi for Gioretta. I would say keeping a positive figure around more important for the players, which is a really interesting point of view from Anthony there. I mean, that's the fact of the matter is, Shane, that these players, from what we're reading, do like Cisco Munoz. Yeah. Clearly, there's something going on with Sierralta, so I don't know whether that's a falling out. I have absolutely no idea what's happening there at the moment. But Anthony says it's different to the Gracia situation. Javi continued with more or less the same squad from the previous season. Cisco has clearly been entrusted with some investment. I think that's an interesting point, Shano, about how there has been a lot of transition at Watford. So how much do we read into that? Because ultimately, it's an inexperienced manager with a number of players leaving, key figures leaving the club, and a lot of players coming in. And for Cisco to oversee that, it's a huge job. So in that respect, are you almost thinking to yourself, is it almost fair that a manager of his experience is put in charge of a situation like this? Because it's a momentous period, I think, in the club's recent history.
Yeah. I think that's a very tough question, right? Because I think we're going down the route of, is it fair for that to have happened? But would it have been fair for the board to sit in the summer and say, all right, Cisco, you're not the man for the job. Like, thank you for what you've done, but now move on. Fans would have been up in arms about it. I think I probably would have been up in arms about it. Hang on a minute, this guy was promoted and all that. Yeah. Obviously, some people might draw a similar sort of thing with Slav. Slav was very different. I don't think he could agree a contract with the Pozzos, and that ultimately broke down. And that communication, the relationship there did kind of sour a little bit. Cisco, it wasn't like that at all. I think he was absolutely going to be given the nod to carry on this season. I feel like with this squad, though, I don't know about you. I just think it's maybe weaker than our last promotion squad. I just think our 15-16 squad, obviously, we were all at different times of our life. You know, I was at uni, maybe that blur, you know. And I think that maybe does kind of slightly gloss, you know, I can't
or even the standard of the Premier League improved, Shane. Even the standard of the Premier League. I mean, Gary Neville said it a number of times.
Yeah.
Good. This strong in the first opening fixtures. So it might be a combination of both of those.
And that's kind of my point. I feel like in that 15-16 season, I thought our defence actually looked solid. I'm not saying we don't look solid now. I just think compared to that year, midfield, Personally, I think our midfield this time is maybe slightly better, but I think up front we actually had goals in us. I think Troy and Iggy absolutely bailed us out that season, and we look back at that now. You count on your hand the number of teams that got flummoxed by that partnership up front. They got some great wins away from home. Villa, Stoke away, Liverpool at home, an absolute pinnacle in the club's history. That's not to say, of course, that we can't do it this time around. We've got those big clubs to come to Vicarage Road. That's not to say that we can't do that. I just feel like there's something maybe missing in this team a little bit. The 15-16 team, the first time we've been promoted in, a number of years, frankly, there was a little bit of, there was that hope, there was that belief, I think, in the team. Do the players want it? I've always asked that question. Do the players really want it? It's all well and good saying Cisco's a great guy, Cisco's, and all of that. But the fact of the matter is, Cisco is inexperienced. Right, we have spoken about this. Some of the tactics are not right. We've spoken today about the substitutes; they're not right. And the whole thing about we get rid of him, someone else comes in. It's going to be someone that we've not heard of before. Everyone's mentioning Diego Martinez. I will bet you my laptop that it will not happen. My laptop isn't worth very much, by the way. So yeah. So that's why I'm pretty safe, to be honest with you. Yeah. The man's sniffing around this country. There are plenty of other clubs in worse positions than we are. And I do kind of get the other side of this argument of, hang on a minute, why are we picking on Cisco here? We're not bottom of the table. We're not in a Norwich. We're not in the relegation area. If we were there, maybe then there would be a few more calls for it. But I think he needs to, I think the team, I think the players that play next Saturday need to put in a convincing performance. Putting me on the spot, as I say, do I think Cisco will leave in the international break if we don't beat Leeds? I'm not saying a draw. If we don't beat and get 3 points against Leeds, my answer to that question is I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be upset because I would feel for Cisco, but we know how the board works. The Pozzo have their guns ready and they will pull the trigger. We know they will.
Yeah.
A lot of fans have argued down the years with me and with, with other people on this channel that actually Javi went too early. We can't afford to mess this up this season. We messed it up the last time we were in the Prem. Right, we bought in Flores for a 10-game run that absolutely killed us. That killed our entire season. The club can't get it wrong. I am worried about another unheard of kind of manager. I have actually heard of Diego Martinez. My worry is we're not going to go down that route. We're not going to go down a route of someone who we know the kind of football that they play. We're going to go down another route completely. And that's where I worry. Someone who's new to the division, someone who's new to English football, that is a worry. We do not have the time to bring something. This is not the YTS scheme. Me and you are not helpers on the YTS scheme, and the wider board and Scott Duxbury are not head of the scheme. We need to have someone who knows this division. And that's where I really struggle sometimes with the board. That's sometimes where I really do sometimes sit down and think, you know what? Why are we doing this? Why are we going for the inexperienced person? I do agree with that person, actually, that said that comment, because that is something that really does come back to haunt us. But ultimately, we were never going to turn around in the summer and say, thank you, but it's time for you to move on now. Some fans still think that we should have done that. And I've seen a lot of fans say, actually, he's only ever been inexperienced and he'll only ever be inexperienced. But I can see the other side of it. We're not in total crisis mode yet. But if we don't get a win against Leeds and the board are unconvinced, the players can be as happy as they want to, right? We can be seeing Sweet Caroline vibes and training ground videos and everyone smiling and everyone hugging and everyone being happy and, Ben Foster putting ketchup on his lunch or whatever you want to see. We can all see the content and everyone's happy. Everyone loves Cisco. Everyone's bought into that team spirit. But the fact of the matter is, if the board don't believe that Cisco's the right man for the job, he will not be here for any longer than he needs to be, right? We are known for doing this. We are known. We have sat here on many occasions outside the Vic, here in person, on Twitter, right? We are hearing rumours that, for example, Nigel Pearson has lost his job. An hour later, exclusive from the Daily Telegraph, Nigel Pearson sat by Watford. Brilliant. Within 10 minutes, Hayden Mullins to take over. They know. The club know. The club are so methodical. They're calculated. It's like an Alan Saint-Maximin goal. Seriously, they know how to do it. They know how to ultimately find the back of the net. They know what to do. They know the process already. This isn't going to be the first rodeo that we've been through. Sure as hell isn't going to be the last one either. But in answer to the overall question, I think if we don't get the performance against Leeds, I can see him going. I think it would be harsh. I think for me, he would leave. I personally would be quite emotional. But I think they're getting to a stage now whereby the substitutes, the lack of knowing your 11, I think that's going to come back to haunt us. Because at some point, it's got to click. If it's not clicking now, when's it going to click? If it's not clicking in October, when's it going to click? Will it click in November with all those difficult fixtures? No. And by the time we finish all of that difficult cycle, it's December and it's Manchester City at home.
And then we've got that.
When is it going to click? And that's the question the board are going to be asking. I think that's the question that a lot of fans are asking.
Yeah, for sure, Shano. I think it's a fascinating debate about Cisco. Yeah. So let us know in the comment section where you stand on it. A big shout out to everyone who's watching. Sam, who's in Birmingham Uni. Great to see you, mate. Have you seen Troy floating about the bull ring or in Birmingham? I hope you're having a good freshers, mate. And Sam will be back on the channel at some point soon, which will be absolutely fantastic. The Three Musketeers and myself.
I will just say that every time I see Sam in the comment, right, it feels like an ex-player's coming back, like walking around like the side of like the picture of the Vic. I just feel like going like that. I just feel like that, you know. But Alan Nielsen, hello.
Quality. So bad for you, Shano. Just a few more comments before we wrap up. Lou Wants is of the opinion, if you have a worse squad, you need a manager that will get more out of less. Cisco isn't that, in my opinion. Sam says, genuinely got no idea about Cisco. I'm on the fence. And there was one more. Anthony said he had less experience than Ivic, just saying. So you've got three. I mean, that pretty much sums up the family. Yeah. You've got one section saying, we need to change. You've got Sam who's saying, I'm not sure, which I'm probably in that camp at the minute. And then you've got Anthony who's saying, look, we need to back him and we need to give him time. So there's all these different, this is the great thing about Watford. This is the great thing about.
And I'm kind of like very much of the opinion of, I've been very, I was very positive last week. Obviously we got the win and everything. We're all going to be, but we could take all these great teams in November and be positive. We should be positive going into those sort of games. But for Saturday, for me, I'll go as far as to say it was a bit of an open goal for us against a side with very little confidence. 1 point gained, maybe not. For me, hand on heart, looking back at the highlights, the extended highlights, the opportunities that I think we should have taken, the kind of the lack of emphasis, the lack of urgency in that team worried me. The substitutes worried me. Putting Zhao in midfield, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, that to me didn't make any sense. And that worried me. That really, really worried me, right? The fact that we had all of our attacking players out there. We had Sarr, we had King, we had João Pedro, we had Dennis on there, and we still couldn't force the issue. We still couldn't force the win. Newcastle actually didn't make very many more attacking changes. They had what they had because of injuries, right? With everyone on the pitch, everyone going for it, we still couldn't unlock the door. That's what really, really frustrated me about that. And that's kind of why I'm a little bit more now like, okay, if we don't put in a great performance against Leeds, he will probably go. Will I be surprised by that? Hand on heart, no, I won't. But he will leave with my very best wishes for what was a superb campaign last year. He turned it around last season. We can never take that away from him. But as Lou Warnes has made the comment there, if you've got a weaker squad, you need somebody who's going to get more out of it. And I'm starting to think that Cisco maybe isn't the guy. He's the kind of guy you want to keep in and around the squad, assistant manager, a coach within the first team setup. But he's maybe not the man to be at the forefront, almost taking the flak, making the big decisions. He's the kind of guy to learn in the background. He was obviously always going to be given this as an opportunity because he got us promoted. But maybe it's now starting. He's now maybe starting to realise that I've got too many decisions to make. This isn't a championship season whereby I can stick out the same squad every single week because we're performing, minus obviously injuries. He needs to change it. He needs to be fluid. And right now, we're not seeing fluid changes within the team. We're seeing players being taken out when they're playing well, players going in, we don't really have a clue, and other players just keeping their position in there, and they maybe haven't really deserved it. And that's kind of where I sit on the whole thing. I think Leeds is a big game for him next Saturday. get the win. I think he carries on in the international break. He pushes that team forward for the next 3 games. Unconvincing for a lot of fans, but I still think he would have done enough to kind of keep hold of his job. Anything less than a win, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if I saw the black corner flag come out during the international break, because we've seen it before, we'll see it again. And ultimately, as Watford fans, we are used to it. We have a default mode. We know what to expect. We know the telltale signs that something's not right. And if we see those signs, it personally wouldn't surprise me.
Very, very interesting. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Shano, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much to Charlotte for saying a great reaction, guys. Looking forward to a Leeds preview at the end of the week. A Leeds preview will be here hopefully on Thursday. So make sure you do subscribe to WD18 to make sure you don't miss any of the Watford fan content here on the channel, and subscribe to the channel as well. And like and comment and follow Shane and follow myself. And also follow us on socials as well. With amazing support on socials at the minute. So if you want to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, make sure you do it. WD18fan. Shano, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll be back, as Charlotte says, for a Leeds preview at the end of the week. Have a great week, guys. We'll still be here. We'll still be supporting Watford. Finish Watford 1, Newcastle United. Newcastle United nil, I wish. Newcastle United. Shano, I think that might be our trademark now. Signing off with a little up the audits. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Keep the faith, lads. Come on.